All right, guys, so this is the last section of our solving systems chapter. Today we're going to talk about solving systems of equations on the calculator. So we're going to start off kind of showing you what it will look like on your calculator. We'll get the answers from there, and then we'll actually put some info in our calculator. So if you look at number 1 and number 2, it says use the following graphs to determine the solution. So it's already graphed our systems for us. So if you remember how we find our answers from graphs, these are pretty easy. If we're trying to solve a system, we're trying to find the intersection of their graphs. So if we look at the first one, it looks like we have an intersection right here, so we just need to count carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our x value is 5. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our y value is 5. So just remember, when you're doing graphs, you're looking for the intersection. Now sometimes there isn't an intersection. These look like they're parallel. If you remember, parallel lines will never intersect, so there is no solution. One thing you need to remember, the one that's not shown, is if two equations end up being the same line, that's an infinite many solutions. All right, so that's how we look at a graph. Let's go to the next part and see what it will look like if we used a table. Now, if we're solving systems and we put it in our calculator, we can get the table of values just like this. And what we're looking for is the intersection on a graph. So what we look for in a table is an x that has the same y values for both equations. So when you look at the table and you have two equations, and you'll have your x values, then you'll have a y1 and a y2. You got your first equation and your second one. And all you need to do is look through and see if any of the y values match at the same time. So if I look at x equals 1, I see y1 equals 5 and y2 equals 5. So our x value in our solution is the 1. The y value in our solution is the 5. If you look at all the rest, none of them match, so none of those other ones could be solutions. So if you look at the second table, let's start looking at our y values. We're looking for ones that match. So I look, no, doesn't look like any of them match. That's the same thing as them being parallel, so there would be no solution. So the reason that was is because no y values matched. So if you're looking at a graph or a table, it's really not too tough. You just have to remember the little rules. All right, let's go to the next page. We're going to talk about how to put some of this stuff in the calculator ourselves, because generally it's not going to be given to us quite that easily. So what we're going to do first is let's go down to number 5, and then we'll talk about the little paragraph above. If I look at 5, I have 3x plus 2 equals 5. Now normally we could subtract the 2, we could divide by 3 and get our answer. But if we separate them into two equations, the calculator can do that all for us. So we're starting with an easy one so you can kind of see. Now if these two things are equal, what we can do is put them both in the calculator. We can say that one of these, maybe the 5x plus 2 or the 3x plus 2, is a y1 value, and 5 is a y2. So what we're going to do is go back up our page a little bit to this top one, and we're going to plus y equals on our calculator, and we're going to say our y1 is what we said a second ago, 3x plus 2, and our y2 is 5. Because if we can find the intersection, then we can find out what our x value is. So what I need you to do, let's get out our calculators. I'm going to have to get out of this little screen real quick. Once I get out my calculator, I need to just follow the directions that it says on the page. First it says press the y equals button. Then we're going to enter our y1, which was 3x plus 2, into y1. And then we're going to go down to y2, and our second one was 5, just what was on each side of the equal sign. After you do that, we can press the graph button, and we can kind of sketch that graph on our XY axis. So if you want to sketch that real quick, my page is kind of low here, but it looks like I've got a horizontal line about right there. Then I've got this other line coming up and looking like that. So after you do that, you can go back to the calculator. You can press second and the trace button. Once you do that, you can go down to 5, which is the intersection, which is what we're looking for. You can hit 5 or scroll down. I'm going to hit enter. Now we just kind of move over on our calculator to where they intersect, and you just hit enter 3 times. And it tells us our intersection at the bottom is the point 1, 5. So we can go down to our solution. Let me just scroll down a little bit here. And our solution to this equation was 1.5. So it's pretty easy to put that stuff in your calculator. Now, I did say we started with an easy one. We moved back up here to number 6. This one is a little bit more complicated. It has quite a few more steps. So it looks like if we're going to plug this into our calculator, we're going to have a y1 that equals one side of my equality, and I'm going to put y2 as the other side. So let's go back into our calculator. We go back to y equals. You can clear out the equations we put in before. Let's put in our new ones. y1, 3x plus 2. y2 is negative 2x minus 3. We hit the graph button again. We can kind of throw a sketch of that in. And then once you have that, we can go to second trace. We can go to 5, which is intersection. Cursor over pretty close to intersection. Enter 3 times, and it should give you your intersection. Looks like ours crosses at 1, negative 1. Negative 1, negative 1, I'm sorry. Okay, so really not too bad. So let's look at the last one real quick. It actually gives us it in terms of y1 and y2, so let's go ahead and clear out our other equations and put these in. I have 3x plus 2. And I have negative 2x minus 3. Again, I can go into graph. It looks like they were the same equations. We could sketch that out. Again, second trace, 5. Get as close to intersection as you want. Enter 3 times. And again, this one was negative 1, negative 1. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and go to the last page. There's one more problem on here, and it's going to take a little more work than we've had on these previous ones. Now, normally, here's how a problem would look. If you were going to see it on a test, it wouldn't be solved just so that you can put it right into your calculator. So what we have to do first is we have to solve for y. So I'm going to write up here must be y equals. So I'm going to take my 2 equations and solve them for y. I've got 2x plus y equals 3. Remember, when we're solving for y, I want to move everything away from it. Well, the only thing to move is the 2x, so I'm subtracting it from both sides. I get y equals negative 2x plus 3. So I'm going to call that my y1 equation. I'm going to come take the other one, x minus y equals 6. I'm going to subtract the x from both sides, and I get negative y equals negative x plus 6. Of course, we don't want negative y, so I divide everything by negative 1. Now I have y equals x minus 6. We'll just go ahead and call this one y2. So now we need to plug them in our calculator. When I do this, I'm going to have to take away some of the stuff, the writing on here, so if you don't have it, you can pause for a second. But I'm going to bring up my calculator, and I'm going to go back to my y equals, clear out my equations. And let's put in the ones we just found. Looks like my y2 is negative 2x plus 3. My other one was x minus 6. So I want to go ahead and graph it. And I'm just going to sketch a quick graph, put that kind of over the xy axis there. Once you sketch it, though, while we're here to the right, we have this table. So I'm going to hit second graph so we can look at the table and we can fill that out. So it wants us to start with negative 3 and move our way up. You can scroll up. It looks like my picture's at 0, but you can scroll up to negative 3. When I do that, I get that y1 is 9, y2 is negative 9. I get on negative 2, I got 7 and negative 8. So no intersections yet. None of our answers are here. Negative 1, I got 5, negative 7. Still not equal. 0 is 3, negative 6. On 1, I got 1, negative 5. On 2, I got negative 1, negative 4, so maybe still looking for that solution. And then on 3, I got negative 3, negative 3. It looks like that is my solution. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. But it's good to check it on your calculator. So I'm going to go back over to my calculator, and I'm going to go to graph, and let's use our second trace, 5. going to scoot my cursor over, enter, 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 and they gave me the 0.3, -3, which is what I should have written down a second ago. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it's not the two y values, it's the x value and the y value. How about 3, -3? Sorry about that. So guys, that's just a quick run through. Remember, if you're using the calculator stuff, you need to be careful. If I say use elimination, substitution, graphing, that does not mean put it in your calculator and get the answer. I have to see work. If it says use your calculator, then I don't mind. But on the STAR test, remember, you can use your calculator as much as you want. So use it if you need it. Hope this helps, and good luck.